What's the difference between God's will for you and your will for you? And when it comes to making decisions, do you struggle with that? If you do, listen up. Hi, my name is Patty, and I help people find the unconscious, unloving parts of themselves and help you change and move into more loving and more conscious parts so we can have a more conscious and loving world. And if that's your jam, subscribe and share this with somebody who may benefit. So listen up. When there is God's will, every morning I ask for what's your will for me today? What do you want me to do? How am I to express your love in the world? And please give me the courage to carry it out. I also ask to make sure that I know when I'm not carrying out God's will. And it's kind of a really weird thing, right? So when I refer to God or the universe or my higher power, it is a loving presence that wants nothing but the best for me and everyone around me. And when I can get into that loving state and stay there, I'm good. I know it. I feel it. And I carry it with me for the rest of the day. I try to anyway. And then when something comes to me, then I address it from that place of love. For example, yesterday I got up in the morning and I asked for God's will for me. And I got a phone call from somebody who has a serious health condition with cancer. And I asked God to talk through me and help her as she moves through this very difficult part of her life, what she can do, what she's been through, holding space for her, allowing her to be who she really is, giving her a safe space, and holding her in love. That's what my higher power would do for me, and that's what I worked very hard at doing for her, to know that she was not alone. That was me carrying out God's will. Now, when it comes to decision making, if I am in fear, if I am reactive, if I am emotional, if I am in trouble, I guarantee you I am not going to be making good decisions or loving decisions. And I may react in a way that's not loving to me or others. So my will is when I have to have my way, when it has to be the way I want it because I know what's right. And I don't know what's right for another person. I only know what's right for me. And even then it can be questionable. Ask my friends some of the decisions I've made in my life. However, if I go to these very same friends who make really good decisions because they have a really good track record, and I've known them and I trust them and they know me and I trust them, and I say, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me out? Can you give me a perspective that I'm not seeing? I got that phone call today from a friend. You know, she's like, I'm struggling. I feel bad. And then I went into my heart and we sat and we talked because she trusts me and I trust her. Sometimes we make decisions and they're irreparable. You can't bring them back, but there is a lesson for you in that decision. I promise. And we all want to do what's best and what's right. But my will, especially if my will is based in fear, it's not going to be loving. It's not going to be pretty. And I know it because of the way life responds back to me. Is that you? So I want you to think about it. When you are making a decision, first come to your heart. If you can't get to your heart, ask a trusted friend with a good track record. You may or may not follow their advice, but that's good. If there is a no, and it is a flat out no, don't do it. You're abandoning yourself. If you have any doubt, don't do it. If there is any confusion, don't do it. And yes, be okay with disappointing people. Be okay with hurting people. That's not your intention, but that's how they may receive it. Be okay with your decision because your higher power, this loving presence that is always with you, always around you, always within you, then you can move forward in joy, in security, in knowing that you are going to be okay. You really are. So listen up as I read from Hope for today, December 6th. Sometimes when I'm in the midst of making a decision, I really struggle with knowing what my higher powers will for me. Occasionally I look outside myself for a sign. I'd rather see a neon light or something else just as obvious, but it doesn't often happen that way. Usually the messages are more subtle, like going to a meeting that I don't usually attend and hearing a speaker I've never heard before say exactly what I need to hear. I need to remember to look inside for signs as well. How do I feel deep inside about a proposed course of action? Is my stomach churning with discomfort, or do I feel calm, quiet, and solid? Do I feel knotted up with tension, or light, relaxed, and expansive? For me, the dilemma comes from wanting to make the right decision. If I'm not careful, I can get stuck at a crossroad of choices. I try to remember that as long as I make decisions in the context of seeking my higher power's will for me, whatever I do will be the right thing. Do is the operative word here. I once heard, without God, man cannot. Without man, God will not. If I don't take some sort of action, my higher power doesn't have anything to work with. Because decision making is a self-correcting process, I can use any mistakes I make along the way to eventually guide me in the right direction. Even if I decide myself into a corner, I'm not alone. My higher power is with me everywhere I go, and sometimes the choices I make are not as important as the fact that I make them. So if you're struggling today with a decision to make and you don't have the answer, if there's a no, don't do it. If there is doubt, don't do it. If there is fear, don't do it. Like fear of missing out or fear of being a failure or that kind of fear. If in your heart you start out, God, what is your will for me? And you just feel into it and you keep practicing that, I promise you are going to get to where you want to be, in a loving place, making this life and our world a more loving place. I love you.